almost want to see Day take Rom away from Snoopy. He's had such an excellent performance using his snipe so efficiently throughout team fights, and even as just like an escaping route to buy him a little bit of extra time. His Rom has always been on point. I mean, that was what he initially built such a strong ADC name off of.
Yeah, like I said, when I think of Panda Cat, I think of Blink Artemis. You know, when I think of Zatman, I think of, well, a lot of stuff. But when I think of DayToRemeber, I'm thinking of Rom. That's what I'm thinking of, and I'm with you and Chaos. I think you guys both said it. Go back to what you're used to. Go back to what you're comfortable on. The Rom is absolutely what he's comfortable on. I wouldn't mind it first pick tier, which is not really where you want to go with your Rom, but in this situation, I wouldn't mind seeing it at all for DayToRemeber.
And on top of that, if DayToRemeber were to get the Rom, it would provide that late game presence that I think Oxygen and Supremacy really need at this point in time, facing off against a team like in Memory of Gabe, because Gabe is a lot more established as far as slowing down the pacing of a game to try and turn it into their favor.
Love the Thoth ban. I think Hurriwind ran that game.
I was going to say, you can definitely see that Oxygen is thinking that the Thoth must have been the deciding factor of that game because of the ults, because of all that damage that they couldn't deal with, and they're not as used to it, so you can see now they're targeting that ban.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely the correct direction to walk into. In Memory of Gabe, now they have the choice. The ban ball is in their court. Which direction do you expect them to go?
As far as bans are concerned, I would imagine that Gabe just, there it is, the Scotty, because they know that Oxygen Supremacy has the first pick, so you don't want to allow either Venenu or Day to have that Scotty online. They've just been way too threatening with that pick and just absolutely crushing it, so just take it away.
Skeeledon needs to make a little bit more noise here in game number 2 as well. He's been one of the go-to players in the entire day, so I want to see him step up a little bit more in game 2 like we've been used to seeing him do for the majority of today.
And I absolutely love the way that they've chosen to go ahead and take away that Kavrakan. No teams today have had the opportunity to play this god, and for good reason. Nobody wants to deal with it.
His level 1 is just too strong. The ground pounder, the tremors just control the situation a little bit too well. So he'll be banned out almost 100%. In fact, he is 100% banned out today.
So now Chang'e and Sylv, one of them is probably going to make it through, or both, depending on what they banned over here.
And with that in mind, so if Chang'e is left available and I'm Oxygen Supremacy, I am not taking her. I'm taking what I want instead, because Cynosure's Chang'e left a little bit to be desired. So we see the Hunbats banned out. Oxygen Supremacy have a choice. I would like to see the Rom. What do you guys want to see?
I would rather see Oxygen Supremacy even potentially default for the Sylvanus here. They went for Chang'e, which I think that's still a safe factor for them because they can utilize that to their own capabilities. I think I would have preferred for them to leave that alone because, like you mentioned, I don't think Cynosure is really that Chang'e jungler. Like, he is a talented individual by all means, but when it comes to that style of gameplay, I don't think it fits the bill.
I agree.
I also think by giving up the Sylvanus, they gave them Sylvanus Zeus, which is very difficult to deal with in mid, and it's a very overall rounded comp. I think if they took the Sylvanus, dealing with Chang'e Zeus would have been a lot easier.
This is already pretty rough. That said, very rarely, if ever, is a game lost in the first pick of picks and bans. There are still many more characters to flesh out these rosters, and of course, the actual game has to be played. So there's certainly that. Chang'e will be paired up with 2 selections in the first half. Oxygen Supremacy, their jungler, Skeeledon right now, giving it some thought, trying to figure out which direction he wants to go in. Will the Chang'e wind up in the mid lane in the hands of Venenu, or will it wind up with him? Still yet to see. Terra will be a Guardian. Whether she winds up in the short lane will be answered with the Osiris selection. Osiris most likely in the solo lane. Terra most likely your support.
I definitely think in this situation they're looking for the ADC mid. You know, they picked the Osiris to get that solo pressure, and they picked the Terra and the Chang'e to round off their sustain comp. Terra does probably going to be put in support. It's not going to go too well early, although against Sylvanus Zeus, nothing really is going to do anyway. Except later on in the game, if they can get through that early game, I feel like their comp is going to scale much stronger than Memory of Gabe.
Cynosure gets his Thor one more time. Now, Cynosure is not this adapting or this answer character. It's definitely his rookie season. But Thor is the guy's go-to character. And like the junglers I just mentioned, he can single-handedly control the game on this character. And last game, I think we saw glimpses of it. We saw a couple of team fights that just, you could have put it at the bottom. Brought to you by Cynosure. on this Thor, this is going to be really troublesome for Oxygen.
You know what I really want to see?
What?
Is an on-her pick for the Hunter role. Because, fun fact, during the split, he had the same win percentage as Scotty with a 61% win ratio. And the fact that he hasn't been brought out so far today, for good reason. Rom and Scotty, excellent picks all around. And I just really want to see if they would potentially bring it out here.
Well, with the Medusa and Cupid bans, you have to dig deeper into your Hunter pocket. And like you said, I'm almost expecting the Chiron mid at this point for Venenu. So very curious to see where Day opts to go. Ban phase for Oxygen Supremacy. They'll be the last ban in this match. And of course, this is the last match of the set. It's a best of 3. Everything on the wire here for these two teams. Oxygen Supremacy has had a fantastic day, fighting not just through a handful, not just through 1 or 2, but 4 teams, Gabe being the 4th. And with the Rom ban, we're back to the pick phase. In Memory of Gabe, they need a Hunter, but they'll pick their solo first. It'll be Vamana.
Snoopy really wants to wait it out and see what these two are going to opt for, because it's really all up in the air whether or not Oxygen Supremacy are trying to take. They don't have to necessarily take a Hunter into that mid lane, but the likelihood of them not doing that is, I think, pretty low.
We've talked a lot about the X's and O's of the game, but we also spent some time talking about chemistry and synergy and sort of the outside of the line stuff. Right now, we're looking down the Oxygen Supremacy team, and these guys are having a good time. Chaos is having a good time. They picked the Zhong. Why are you so excited? Well, I mean, you love Zhong.
I love Zhong. I mean, the character's super tanky. He's got a huge burst ultimate. Against Zeus, he probably can do super well early, although it's very dependent on who gets ahead early. If the Zeus gets ahead early, it's just going to stomp through the Chang'e. If the Chang'e gets ahead early, he's just going to stomp through the Zeus. Usually, if Zeus falls behind early anyway, he gets stomped. So in general, I think the Zhong is like their all-in pick. Like they're going for that. Like we're gonna try and win early, and if it does, we're guaranteed the victory.
So I usually have to do this when they select Chalk. I got to take myself out of the equation and look at it, you know, objectively. Objectively speaking, with the Zhong selection, is this the composition? Can they win? Will they win?
I think they can. Zhong has a pretty good early pressure. I think it's going to do well generally against the Thor, although it really depends on his positioning. And AMC.
I'm so sad. I didn't get a chance. I didn't want to like just kill Chaos in that, but I am so sad because I wanted to call AMC Snoopy.
Well, you are the Hunter player, so bring us. Why are we seeing the Muzen Crab?
He absolutely loves this god, and it does excellently against the 1v1 matchup for a Hu-Yi. It's so difficult for Hu-Yi to try and get away from that AMC.
It all comes down to this: with everything against the wall for the Masters, we choose Zhong, and we choose a Muzen Cobb. Tully and Hindu, bring us game 3, baby.
I mean, we don't choose them. These teams choose them at the critical moment for both of them as well. I like both compositions here.
I do too. The cards were dealt in a very interesting fashion, I would have to say. Zhong for Oxygen Supremacy and the Muzen Cobb for Snoopy here on Memory of Gabe. Things are going to get spicy really fast, Hindu.
The problem I see for Oxygen Supremacy's composition here, though, Tully, is the fact that all their engagement relies on... It's difficult to set up the most of their engagement. They do have the crushing walls from Terra to get involved. Osiris kind of has to ult in or consistently slow on someone to catch up. Hou-Yi has to ricochet, or there's a waxing moon. There's not that much engage.
Well, there's a lot of AoE here between the Zhong ultimate, the Hu-Yi. They have the double sustain between the Chang'e and the Terra. Have Osiris for the anti-sustain against the Sylvanus from out of Memory of Gabe. The one thing that they don't necessarily have that Memory of Gabe do is the long-range safe poke that the Thor can provide to allow the Zeus to follow up with the Muzen Cobb.
Just a little bit worried about that engage thing, but the one thing that Oxygen did show is that when Noble had the engage comp, they just sat back and waited previously for the opposition to initiate first. Memory Gabe could do that. The problem is that Zeus may already get a kill before they could try and turn it around.
And Oxygen are really good about just playing the waiting game. However, the last game, there were some questionable plays where they were trying to kind of force a little bit too much. Sure. We saw in the dueling around level 8 how DayToRemeber tried to make the 1v1 play, and then Cynosure rotated underneath. And on top of that, Skeeledon looking for the aggressive teleport to his own ability.
Excuse me, Oxygen, but that is the Memory of Gabe strat I see in the mid lane. That is not your strategy, my friends. They're going to try and collapse in the mid lane with 3 members, Oxygen, because Kiki's round the back of both Cynosure and Hurriwind, but they smelled it out in time, and Hurriwind will be safe enough. On the right-hand side, look what they sent there, though. NeiruMah did go there on Terra just to make sure Whalrus didn't get free farm at the beginning of the game, and now with 3 members, Oxygen can look towards the speed buff.
Hurriwind has seen those kinds of plays time in and time out before. You're not going to catch that kind of a veteran player slipping. However, still going to be able to secure the speed buff on the side of Memory of Gabe. It's going to hurt out Whalrus unless he can steal this away.
Well, he went for the steal over the wall, but he was a little bit too late to the party there. Left-hand side, Memory of Gabe, though, will secure their own red buff. They didn't even look to invade there, Tolly. They just went for their own safety of their own half of the map.
Wanting to get mid pressure as quickly as possible, grabbing their own red, bouncing back to mid, trying to zone away the Chang'e and the Zhong, but instead of looking to invade a little bit as the hunter pressure heavily favoring out Memory of Gabe, but Muzen, one of the highest clearing hunters in all of Smite.
Now with Eonic and Snoopy in this left-hand side, they've been available to go and invade that red buff, especially because the pressure that Memory of Gabe got in the mid lane. Purple buff does still stand here. DayToRemeber isn't the worst god to be in a 2v1 as Ho-Yi, just for the simple reason he can ricochet from distance to at least tag the creeps.
And he has a jump Whalrus, though. He's in a lot of trouble. The little baby, the fadeaway shot from Kiki confirming first blood. That's one way to shut down Mark Maloney.
Well, they get first blood, but on the left-hand side of the map, Memory of Gabe will strip the purple and the oracles as well. Once again, Skeeledon looking to invest a little bit, not Skeeledon, I should say, it's NeiruMah right now, and the support who's over in the solo lane. They've really babysat quite a bit for Kiki in these games so far.
And that's not a bad idea here, considering that a Terra in the dual lane is not going to provide you too much here, especially considering that the Sylvanus is going to outclear you anyway. There's not too much kill potential as the sustain from Eonic is going to top off Snoopy. So whereas Memory of Gabe is babysitting Snoopy, Oxygen is babysitting Kiki.
Now Whalrus could be in a bit of more of a deficit now. Remember, he lost his blue buff on this right-hand side as well. Took a tumble for the first blood, did teleport back in, but Kiki is able to control this lane pretty well now. Only 3 potions available for Whalrus in his inventory, whereas Kiki still has the chalice and potions to top himself up on top of that, and the teleport up if he wants to go back.
Not having any mana potions for Whalrus makes it difficult trying to stay in the lane as long as possible. He doesn't have this one-shot clear with the Umbrella Ring quite yet, so having to wait until level 7, this allows Kiki to still sit in the lane, look for a lot of bully potential with all of his abilities.
Snoopy and Eonic did proxy farm away on the left-hand side, keeping DayToRemeber trapped under the tower, but Oxygen aren't too worried about that because nobody's in the left-hand side of the map. There's no buffs available for a little while now, but Snoopy will make sure to put some pressure onto DayToRemeber to make sure he can't get all the golden experience from that wave.
Ultimate still available for Snoopy on the Muzen. He hits that. It's going to be a cripple onto DayToRemeber and preventing him from jump, having to use the purification beads. That's going to be a big important cooldown, and then that's going to be the jungler making these important rotations.
Skeeledon's on a rotation now. Didn't look for the waxing moon there, just a bit of damage as the blue and speed are about to come up for Memory of Gabe. That's where the intention of Oxygen seems to be on this right-hand side of the map.
Trying to look for some sort of pressure onto anywhere that they can. Eonic hiding around this corner, hoping DayToRemeber is going to overstep a little bit of his boundaries, but NeiruMah spots the Sylvanus support right around the corner. A lot of safety now for DayToRemeber.
Hurriwind now level 6. Still not headed back to base just yet, but has picked up the red buff. Oxygen did strip the speed and the blue buff away from Memory of Gabe on the right-hand side once more. The red buff for Oxygen is about to spawn, though. Last time Memory of Gabe went that way. We'll see if they go there again.
Not on the mark with that double tap, but it's a good little dance immunity. Everyone here from Oxygen Supremacy trying to contest this red buff with the exception of the 2 soul laners. Cynosure pulls it out. Finding the double root is NeiruMah.
But the reset of the red buff happens. NeiruMah pops the Wrath of Terra. Cynosure takes the sky as well. Gonna get a bird's eye view of what's going on here, and Skeeledon is the target. Aegis absorbs a lot of the damage, but it's not going to be enough to stop the detonate damage from Hurriwind. Venenu did pick up one with the ghost. Skeeledon survived way longer than expected, but Hurriwind finally claims him, and that chain lightning could spell disaster for NeiruMah. He just needs one detonate. Not needed. Cynosure with a double tap will pick up DayToRemeber. 3 for 2.
3 for 2. Snoopy barely able to escape with his life there, and still having a lot of pressure though on the soul lane, left in a 1v1 spot. We're gonna see Kiki still being a big bully, having this 1 level advantage. So despite Memory of Gabe having that little bit of an advantage on the left, they have the disadvantage which they're gonna have to answer eventually on the right.
They will eventually, but for now, as long as 4 members are winning, they don't necessarily have to worry too much about 1 member who is ahead in a different lane.
There was a point in time earlier on today when KikiSoCheeky was the Vamana, and he had a bad matchup against Aquarius playing the Osiris. But once it got to the late game, he was a force to be reckoned with. However, this time around, he has a little bit of a lead, so imagine what he's able to do once these mid to late game team fights start breaking out.
Hurriwind is still not backed. He's still sat there with his starting items, still not going back to base. He's going now. Is he going to be the Doom Orb? No, he'll go straight for the pen boots. Thought he might be seeing the Doom Orb there, Tolly.
He needs mobility in order to escape the clutches out of Venenu that uses his ultimate. The only way you can get out of that, is, especially as a Zeus that doesn't have a movement ability, is just to outrun the opposition here. Not having any sort of modifiers in between sprint or any form of that means that he has to separate himself from that ghost.
Cynosure in the sky, looking at DayToRemeber, trying to time it right, but it's DayToRemeber who timed it better. The bad news is he came down straight away and got walled by Cynosure. Yes, the ultimate wasn't great, but the wall was so much better.
And now it's Eonic, though, that gets rooted out in play. Skeeledon is here trying to confirm the kill. The Chang'e ultimate could be used, as well as the Zhong just to answer back. A nice little response from Oxygen.
You might as well there, Tolly. Might as well pick up the kill. He's low enough to get the kill onto. The bad news is it costs you 2 ultimates.
And this could be a little bit of a window that Memory of Gabe could exploit for within the next 70 seconds or so. Gold Fury is not necessarily going to be started up at the 7-minute mark, but just to force a little encounter around these mid-heartbeats, Memory of Gabe will have the ultimate advantage.
And now Venenu in the mid lane on the Zhong needs to restack 1 more time here, and he's going to do so with that exorcism after applying the card. Needs to get those extra protections in the bag for when he does use the ultimate next time round.
And having this mobility allows him to still chase down a lot of these members from Memory of Gabe, which is why he's not going for this glass cannon style right off the bat with the Doom Orb rush that he did earlier on today. Whenever he did feel very confident, he has an early dev thus far, which could have been the reasoning why it deterred his option.
Well, we're about 6.5 hours in so far since Oxygen started their day at 11 o'clock local time. We started this game, this specific one, at 5:30. These guys have been going so long, Tolly. Very little breaks so far for them today. They're basically just going to keep going to the route, or they win.
Absolutely, and this is a great smite action to see out of the Challenger Circuit team. The last season of the Gauntlet, we saw Most Wanted Esports. They won their first set, but then they almost won their second against Team Envious. So we could see a lot more from these members.
Cynosure just seems to be growing in confidence as this set is going on as well. The first set, not so great out of him. Second one, early game, he suffered, but he came online towards the middle of that. And now in this set, currently 2-0 and 2, equal level with Skeely so far, but he is making an impact.
Ooh, Oxygen really want to force a fight with Kiki, making the teleport. Terra using his ultimate, Cynosure as well. Hurriwind in a lot of trouble in the backline.
But DayToRemeber's focused by Cynosure to keep him busy. DayToRemeber will kick Hurriwind thanks to the Suns though, but he'll trade out with Cynosure on the right-hand side. The bad news is the ghosts are in town, and the slow from the card is good enough for Skeely to get in range. It's 3 for 1, and the last time we spoke about Oxygen doing that, they won the game after a Gold Fury.
Here comes the monster. Kiki forcing the zoning between Whalrus and Snoopy. He might have bit off more than he could chew though, because the rest of his teammates have started that Gold Fury. He's being taken down right at half health here.
Oh no.
3 members. Snoopy could look to stop this.
3 magical damage dealers are not going to bring down the Gold Fury quick enough at this stage. There's no secure ultimate out of them either. No Krakens, no Spirit of the 9 Winds there. You're going to have to surrender it. Kiki should have fallen back. Small mistake from Oxygen. The fight overall, though, was very good for them.
It was a good zoning mechanism, but it was just a little too long there. Could have peeled back a little bit sooner. What's a level 9 Vamana going to do at that point in time anyway? Whenever you already had a 3 for 1, at that point, you might as well at least zone around the Gold Fury, so that way the rest of your teammates can reset the Gold Fury and help you if you get in a little bit of danger.
And Kiki underestimated where Snoopy's position was there. And look at it, Snoopy now just dinged level 12. DayToRemeber may hit hit level 10 off that wave, which puts him at a 2-level deficit against this Muzen Cobb that has been protected since the beginning of the game.
A lot of these games today have been the story of one solo laner gets ahead, whereas the enemy team's Hunter gets ahead as well. And this has been a point in time where Snoopy's more ahead of Kiki. Like you mentioned, he was level 12. He also had the red buff, I believe, during that encounter, making his in-hands just hurt a little bit too much for this Osiris player.
Well, that last team fight did even things up for Oxygen after them falling down for the first blood. Now the Gold Fury still stands, however, it's an equal game between the two. And that, at 10 minutes in, Tolly, we can start looking towards where sustain is going to come from, because we do have a Chang'e, we've also got a Terra on one team, and then across the way there is Sylvanus just firing those wisps off.
Ooh, Skeeledon doing a nice job surviving despite getting stunned out. Could have been potentially a bad case if he got stuck on the other side of that wall. Cynosure needs to try to figure out a way to better position this wall, because these kills can easily be heavily in the favor of Memory of Gabe if that one ability forces them into the side of them.
Now, we talked about the Hunters and the duel and the level difference there. Well, Kiki had support early on in this game to pressure onto Whalrus, which is still happening right now as we speak, as the blue buff is taken away from Whalrus once more. But the level disparity between the two is not as big as the duo lane, Tolly.
That's true. There's 3 levels that Snoopy is ahead of, whereas Kiki is only ahead about 1 level. Just now, finishing off that Breastplate of Valor is Whalrus, whilst Kiki have already had that for quite a while. Venenu not electing to really follow up off of that stun. Instead, the Portal Demon is going to get started, considering that they know where everyone is from Memory of Gabe.
And with NeiruMah being on this left-hand side here, and Memory of Gabe looking for more for the red buff. The good news is that Whalrus had an idea. Something was weird because Kiki was missing, but he's against 3. Can he steal it away? No, because the waxing moon from Skeeledon was very wise.
Great stun, but because of that commitment, Golf, you're going to get started on up. NeiruMah trying to steal it away, but Gabe finds it. NeiruMah having to retreat for a little bit. Cynosure going into the sky just for good measure.
And now he's just going to look around to see if there's an opportunity to continue. Instead, the call from Memory of Gabe is disengage. They will be happy to take a Gold Fury for a Portal Demon at this stage.
Slightly favoring Gabe at this point, a little more value out of that Gold Fury compared to that Portal Demon. About, let's say, 70 gold or so, but Tier 1 tower is getting sieged.
Risky, Tolly, because Memory of Gabe have got a lot of ultimates available. Snoopy now comes in, slow, and the stinger onto NeiruMah. That did sting and hit home. Now, Memory of Gabe with 5 men strong in mid. They have wisps to be able to resustain and look to take a 5v4.
The cripple, so important to shut down the whole entire kit out of the Terra with a 5-on-4 advantage. NeiruMah now responding for another 10 seconds. Grouped up is Memory of Gabe in the mid lane.
Do they know Kiki's there? I don't think they've seen Kiki yet. Whalrus just did. And maybe Memory of Gabe. Waxing Moon hits the whole team. Hurriwind drops the ult in place. At the same time, now the Ghostbusters are here. Venenu will try and bring them down, but he only gets Eonic.
Oh, diving into the backline is Kiki, but he misses the ultimate. The suns come raining down, but is this not enough? Snoopy in a 1v2 spot, but still in the backline is Cynosure, not on the mark with the stun, having to hammer away with the revival from NeiruMah on this Terra. This could now be the Tier 1 tower for Oxygen, considering how low everyone is from Gabe.
Real surprise that Oxygen found an advantage here, especially when there was so many ultimates and Memory of Gabe committed in that last engagement. They won't find the Tier 1 tower here with an AMC defending. The clear is just too good. Without minions, they have to fall back once more, which keeps the game at roughly 1,000 gold lead for Memory of Gabe.
Only a level 11 Hu Yi makes it a little difficult to try to truly find this Tier 1 in the mid tower, but still like the mindset to go for this objective, because this puts Snoopy in a spot where he has to make the conscious decision between, does he put himself slightly out of position trying to defend this Tier 1 tower, but luckily for him, a Muzen Cobb having the long range clear, it was a very safe decision.
And you look at the deaths on the side of Memory of Gabe here, and you can see it's very similar to what the story of Oxygen have been here. It was NeiruMah that was always the casualty of war for the side of Oxygen, and the team went on to win. Well, right now, Eonic has died 4 times on this Sylvanus, but his team are up in kills because of it.
Not a problem for support, as long as his team is going to be the beneficiary of his sacrifice. Still a good job, though, is Whalrus. He was behind a level or 2 earlier on, but now he's caught up, even feeling as bold enough to complete the Sunder on his second relic, but 3-level advantage here as Snoopy's hitting level 15, 5-0-4.
That Sunder's going to really help, though. One thing that's very good against a Zhong, for example, is shredding protections. That's why Nemesis is always good against a Zhong. Well, when Zhong pops the ultimate now, if the Sunder comes through, you can spell goodnight to that tankiness that a Zhong can bring to the table.
Definitely amplifying a lot of damage. 15% before it gets upgraded, 30% at the second rank. Having to be careful with the positioning, but as long as they can keep Whalrus at bay, this Zhong can really reign supreme. DayToRemeber taking a lot of poke from that hammer.
He has been abandoned in this duo lane all day, though. I've not really seen any rotations coming out from Oxygen to this side until just now. But when you look at it, Tolly, the tower's near enough dead right now. There's not really much to defend.
No, it's 3-on-3, but it's going to be about a 4-on-3 as we see Zeus making the rotation a little bit before Venenu. However, those two spot each other out.
That's one of those awkward things of like, oh, you're in mid, oh, so am I. Let's just back away. We're not going to fight because that'd just be silly.
No, one of those.
Wait for the whole team.
One of those draw-offs in like the Wild West is like, you going to take the shot?
Are you going to fight first? Are you going to try and pull for your gun first?
Yeah, the reaction time.
Pretty much the same way. Mid lane, though, Venenu. Ooh, that was a very, very quick reactionary Aegis there that in the end, it's on cooldown, but he could have been in a bit of trouble.
So Cynosure hammers in and then stuns. So where's the follow-up damage afterwards? Venenu panicked a little bit, I would say, trying to use that Aegis. And at this point, this is their elimination game. They've been on a 7-game winning streak up until this last point in time.
It is, but the good news is the Aegis isn't the bigger one, I feel, for the Zhong. It's fantastic combined with his ultimate to get free damage off and not return the damage, but the beads are more important for him to avoid the CC so he can at least pop the ultimate, get his protections online, or resustain with the Exorcism and Bancroft's Talent.
Normally, a lot of Zhong will elect to go for more of a health build, whether it's going to be the Gem of Isolation, Ethereal Staff, maybe even the Warlock Sash, but going for a very glass cannon build, relying on the kit of the Zhong. As long as you're able to build up your souls in your bag, you're going to have all those protections in line, and this is why Venenu is deflecting away from that option.
Well, we'll see where now Venenu goes with this build, because he's got the tier 2, which could potentially be the Spear of the Magus, which is a pretty common sort of opportunity here. A lot of dot damage on the side of Zhong, but he could look for the Divine Ruin, because anti-heal is important, especially against the likes of Whalrus and the Vamana, and the Wisps coming out. And not just that, Hives from Snoopy give a fair bit of healing.
With the anti-healing option from Kiki and Skeeledon, I don't expect Divine Ruin to be picked up by Venenu. Instead, relying on more damage between that Spear of the Magus. Goal here, though, does get completed by Memory of Gabe, just a little bit too slow to react as Oxygen.
And is that stamina that's starting to take its toll here, Tolly? Or is this the composition that they're going to have to kind of wait a little bit longer for this comp to come online?
It's still really early to tell at the 17-minute mark, but Gabe is just really just dragging every inch in this battlefield. Oxygen not getting the better end of that. They're just one step too slow.
Chaos on the analyst desk, he was the one mentioning earlier on, like, if you pick Zhong and you run away with the game, you can run away with it straight away, but you can do the same thing with Zeus. If Zeus or Zhong fall behind, it could be devastation for either team. Right now, Venenu is a little bit behind that of Hurriwind, as the Portal Demon is now being looked at.
And it's probably been the first time that Zeus has been elected to be played all day today. Eonic very low, though. The Waxing Moon being dealt damage. Cynosure in the sky. Diving in the backline is Kiki, finding the first victim. Support for support, but Skeeledon being chased by Whalrus.
And on the backside, Hurriwind is being run down by Kiki right now, but he's got support from Snoopy and Cynosure. Snoopy will clean up Venenu. Both mid laners dead. Kiki falls back towards his team, but walks right towards Whalrus. Skeeledon is trying to help him out of a tricky situation, but the wall from Cynosure will deny an option of turnaround there. The Portal Demon now being looked at by Memory of Gabe. DayToRemeber, Tolly, he was in the duo lane then, tries to rotate. In the end, he just ends up getting a tier 1.
And the fact of the matter was, that was a 2-for-2 for quite a while, up until that last kill onto Kiki, but they were fighting 4-on-5. Not only that, Snoopy is just so far ahead. Level 18, a Muzen comp. However, that one ultimate from DayToRemeber could have turned the tide. A zoning ultimate could have deterred anyone from chasing down anyone else on the form of Oxygen.
It's just a waiting game now for Oxygen. With them being 3 kills down, they lose the Portal Demon. The Oracles on the left are going to go before I think we could see a contest coming out from NeiruMah. Not going to find the kill, unfortunately, there. Nice little try, though, to make it a 1-for-1 split. The Gold Fury's still down, though, for 3 minutes. So the windows of extra opportunities in the mid lane objective-wise is not available for either team.
Not yet, but Cynosure have been doing a good job thus far with his tectonic rifts. He's always in the right spot at the right time, trying to set up his teammates. And we've seen how much follow-up damage that Hurriwind and Snoopy have been able to capitalize off of this setup. And this is the point in time now with Whalrus playing this Vamana. As he's getting into the late game, he's been able to now take his 1 to 2 level deficit from earlier on with a 1 level advantage.
And right now, KikiSoCheeky, he's had a good early to mid game, but as we started to approach the late game, this is where Osiris really struggles, Tolly. He's really just a meat box that gets in your way for the most part. Damage output can be useful if you're ahead, but at the moment, he's only just even.
This reminds me of the kind of style that Virizial kind of plays the Thor, but diving in the backline, Skeeledon finding a nice wax and moon, trying to keep his tier 1 tower alive. Venenu diving.
But it's only going to hit onto Eonic. Kiki around the back, now looking to engage, but a good ult from Eonic will disengage that for now. Hurriwind drops his ult at the same time, however. Nice ricochet coming out from DayToRemeber. Cynosure to the sky.
The Thunder is going to be good. Whalrus finding the kill onto Skeeledon. Venenu nowhere to go. The downfall of the Zhong.
2 kills for Whalrus and Kiki on the front. He could be the third if Whalrus wants it, but Hurriwind will deny that option with a quick detonate. Aegis forced by DayToRemeber. Now Memory of Gabe barrel down the mid lane. They take the tier 1, still 5 members strong. They can look at the tier 2 as well.
Finding these picks onto Venenu and to Skeeledon early on makes it so much easier for everybody else. Just overstepping their boundaries was Oxygen Supremacy. Going too far out of their tier 1 tower. They have nowhere to go, and they're going to lose their 4th member here. Tier 2 already fell, and this could easily be the mid Phoenix.
With 30 seconds on NeiruMah, 4 or 5 seconds still on Skeeledon and Venenu as well. The Phoenix in mid will indeed fall down. DayToRemeber, no ultimate available. It's a double tag, forced to dash away. That will be the Phoenix.
Easy pickings here, just staggered deaths all across the board here for OS, and this is not looking too good. They were winning 7 games in a row, and now they're about to lose 2 if they can't stop Memory of Gabe's onslaught.
Let's be honest, Oxygen came in this without much of a hope for many people. They're like, yeah, they've got some experienced names on that team that have been around the scene before, but they couldn't make it to the Pro League at the start of this split. What's going to be any different? Maybe they have a good set against Flashpoint. Maybe. But have a good set against Flashpoint, have a good set against Noble, destroy LG as well, and then make Memory of Gabe go to 3 games. Even if they lose this, they can hold their heads high.
Well, I don't even know. Like, maybe in the beginning of this, that was their mentality, but heading into this set against Memory of Gabe, especially after they won the first game of the set, I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be a little, not necessarily too emotional, but a little bit disappointed considering the fact that they had the potential. They were just 1 game away from getting to that next step.
Well, we're talking like it's over, and it's not just yet, but it is at a critically negative moment for Oxygen right now, with the middle Phoenix being down. Lucky for them, though, they've still got 3 towers standing, so even if they lose, the Titan is going to be a little bit more tankier if they look to try and end after a terrible team fight. Gold Fury to Memory of Gabe.
Extending their advantage a little further, about 9,000 in the lead now, heading into the 22-minute mark. Fire Giant could be the next option for Memory of Gabe, considering that Fire Waves will be flooding down the mid wave. Could be an easy attempt, especially considering of all the pressure that they have in the side lane. Snoopy looking to push down that dueling.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, at the moment, though, it looks like Memory of Gabe are just looking to try and split the map apart. They seem to be quite happy with these small skirmishes where the whole of Oxygen aren't grouped together. That's where Oxygen have really thrived in this tournament so far this weekend, in my opinion, is getting that 5-man unit together and making big wins happen. Memory of Gabe in this set haven't really allowed them to do that too much. They've always been looking for the 1v1s, the 2v2s, the 3v3s, and when the team all gets there, the fight's pretty much already over.
I think the turnaround rather, to shut down Oxygen was the Thor pick coming out of Cynosure. He doesn't have to commit too close to the thick of the action. He can still find the long-range poke, and with that kind of burst potential out of Memory of Gabe, there's not too much healing that could really be done between Skeeledon and NeiruMah.
Just want you to note, there is still an Muzen Cobb in this game, and the Muzen Cobb is still alive. Yes, that is right. Involved in all kills. 100% kill participation coming out from Memory of Gabe on Snoopy, and he's still alive. But like you said, the Portal Demon was stolen by Oxygen, so a small glimmer of hope here.
It's a little bit of gold into their pocket. Obviously, they can't really take full advantage of it as they have to try to deter the tier 1 tower from being taken, but it doesn't seem that anyone wants to commit. Instead, electing to take the safer option and protecting at least the 1,500 gold in the form of the tier 2.
Memory of Gabe a little bit confident now with their level leads that they have, thanks to the gold they've got in the coffers as well. Looking for the walls from Cynosure on the double taps over and over again. Kiki has to eat the brunt of the damage on the forefront here, but it's going to start to whittle him down. Luckily enough, he does have sustain from Chang'e.
Memory of Gabe backing off. They're trying to control the vision, but a nice little sentry ward from Oxygen spotting out one ward. Doesn't see the other one right above it. Whalrus trying to zone out. He's going to dash on into Skeeledon. The wall from Cynosure is good.
This is perfect, Ollie, because all Memory of Gabe are trying to do is put pressure for the mid lane. There is the Phoenix is about to come back up. There's a full minion wave on the Titan, and as soon as someone shows their face, guess where they're going to go, Tolly?
Straight to the Fire Giant. 5-on-3 for a little bit. Venenu still staggering behind a little bit. Kiki with the ethereal form. He's very tanky here. He can absorb a lot.
This is just bait from Memory of Gabe. They're trying to make sure DayToRemeber either commits or stays out, and if they do that, they can just try and take a 4v5. Skeely's knocked down very low down the right-hand side, but it did cost Whalrus his ultimate to do that. DayToRemeber has defended the middle Phoenix for now. Memory of Gabe realizing they're going to have to commit to this soon, but here comes Oxygen.
Vamana with a Frostbound Hammer can chase indefinitely. That's exactly what's happening. Diving in the back lane is Cynosure, but a nice waxing moon. Not enough time to buy. Kiki's going to fall right now. Venenu with the ghost all onto Snoopy.
Not enough to pick up a kill though, and instead Memory of Gabe are running them down like dogs. And still in the mid lane is the Ho-Yi. He's not able to get to this fight. NeiruMah's dead. Over the wall comes DayToRemeber. He could clean up for a Penta if he was lucky, but immediately Memory of Gabe turned tail and looked to disengage.
Oh my goodness, the stun from Cynosure, the honey and the slow from Snoopy, making it just more difficult for Oxygen to chase down all these 5 low members. They're in the low greens, the mid-yellow health bars. That could have been an easy cleanup, but DayToRemeber, like you mentioned before, he had to stay in the mid lane because those fire minions could easily chip away at the Titan and then take away the mid-Phoenix that just respawned for free.
Well, round 3 of this Fire Giant. Memory of Gabe not really committing to this too much though. It looks like they were poking out to see what kind of response was going to happen. They realized themselves that this would be a terrible fight to take. Only Snoopy with an ultimate available right now. Memory of Gabe choose to just take the wins from the towers and fall back.
I'm surprised that Oxygen don't even go for Fire Giant there. If they knew that Memory of Gabe had all backed, there was only one member. That member was Whalrus to be able to try to stop that objective.
I think the issue is, they didn't have wall coverage down there, so they were a little bit worried that they, Memory of Gabe would have seen that going on. One of them would have delayed back in and just stopped that idea in its tracks immediately. Red buff going to go to DayToRemeber on the left-hand side here, unless he gives it over to Venenu, who's been relatively quiet on the Zhong, I want to say here. He's been involved with the ultimate and got some decent damage off it, as you'd expect, but it's not as much as some of the other gods in this game.
It's just a different kind of style from what we're used to seeing all day today. To go from these bursty mages to a lot of these hunters to now to go for a damage over time mage, it's not really panning out well for him.
He's pinned in place for a moment or two, forced to Lord of the Afterlife defensively. Hurriwind gets a very good ultimate off of his zoning tool. Cynosure's looking for the collapse. It gets 3! It's not them they're after though. He wanted Kiki. He was peeling for his team. Kiki was isolated. Kiki falls. 4v5 again.
NeiruMah, he's in the front line. Not going to be able to do too much here. Nice little meditation just to top him off, but that Zeus bouncing every single arc of lightning.
Well, just keep an eye on the ults here. There is still 2 available for Oxygen here. Only Snoopy has the Stinger available, whereas Venenu has the Ghosts up. NeiruMah will be the first one to show vision and keep an eye on how low the Fire Giant's getting. Got to be careful about how they transition through the jungle here, Oxygen, especially because of the Zeus Chain Lightning.
The Fire Giant is really low, but it's still being leashed. NeiruMah having to stun out 2 into the Suns. Eonic taking a lot of damage. Whalrus knocking up 2. The ghosts are coming out.
But Venenu's already dead. He got bursted down by Snoopy. There wasn't enough damage to keep him alive. No tankiness on the side of the Venenu. We mentioned that it's all damage output, which means you're going to fall down. Snoopy gets a double. Skeely's going to fall down to Whalrus. And next on the list, it was a DayToRemeber for Oxygen. But I'm pretty sure Cynosure right now, the dream has collapsed.
This is going to be a deicide if they find Kiki, but instead allowing him to live a little bit longer. There's no way Kiki can really survive this. Whalrus is going to deter the backing for a little bit longer. Hurriwind clearing out the wave, and this is going to be a free fire giant. 4 members dead here for Oxygen.
It should be a free fire giant. There's only Kiki left alive at less than half health. Hurriwind can just sit here and zone all day. He's not having to commit against Kiki. He just needs to keep eyes on and go, where is he? What's he doing?
As long as Hurriwind knows that Kiki's here. Dead in mid-air. No landing for you, Kiki. Unofficial deicide and the fire giant going in the way of Memory of Gabe. And the reason why Hurriwind did that was twofold. One, he wanted to make sure that he spotted out Kiki. If he's on the map, that means he's not in base with full health and about to teleport back into the back of the fire giant. Second was just to find a sneaky kill like that.
And he finds a sneaky kill to just increase his stat line a little bit more. The middle Phoenix is already weakened after the last couple of fights as well. And with the fire giant and all 5 members of Memory of Gabe now, they will turn their attention to this right-hand side with minions pressuring in. Tier 2 tower, let's take some free gold.
12,000 gold. Right now, it's about to be 13.5 after this tier 2 on the right. The mid Phoenix is very vulnerable, about half health after the respawn. Right side Phoenix is going to be the first target for Memory of Gabe.
Still a 4v5 for a few more seconds though, but all 4 members of Oxygen have their ultimates available. Scrap that DayToRemeber, just used his as a zoning tool there for the best of his ability. Memory of Gabe won't be too upset to see that one on cooldown for this next engagement.
They still have Venenu's ultimate to be able to zone a little bit more. If Memory of Gabe commit full on the right-hand side, it's going to be interesting to see just how much damage these ghosts truly do.
The amount of damage Snoopy's doing now, totally, Venenu is going to have to ult in, pop beads, pop Aegis at the same time just to be able to get towards their opposition. Because if not, Snoopy will two-shot him.
Ooh, nice little stun by NeiruMah, but no real follow-up. Holding on to the waxing moon is Skeeledon.
Whalrus goes in, pressures onto NeiruMah, gets tower aggro. The ultimate from Hurriwind should delete NeiruMah, but no, it's Skeeledon first down. Cynosure went in very deep there, but he won't be too disappointed as his team is still in a decent enough position. Kiki has respawned and comes around the back, but forced to Lord of the Afterlife back towards the mid lane.
The mid Phoenix, though, is vulnerable. He gets taken out instantly. Snoopy having to retreat a little bit. He's going to get chased down, though. Kiki getting slowed by that Frostbound Hammer. Eonic looking for the pull, not going to find it.
And in the end, Kiki will get away. On top of that, though, Memory of Gabe got what they came for. They get the right-hand Phoenix, the weakened middle Phoenix, and turn their attention to the final Tier 2 tower that is keeping Oxygen in this game.
Slow and steady. Memory of Gabe, they know what's at stake here. They do not want to be knocked out of contention of this North American Gauntlet by the Challenger Circuit team that's had such a great run thus far today.
Right now, they can just head back to Gold Fury, Memory of Gabe. There's nothing else they can really do on this left-hand side. You know, they're a little bit worried without having Cynosure here, with all the ults invested in the last engagement. Just strip the jungle to make sure there's no small window for Oxygen to get anything.
2 fire waves between middle and right side. It's about to start trickling down on those lanes, and it allows Memory of Gabe to just fall on back, get this Gold Fury before the final push, trying to control and get the last 6-slot items, selling off the starter items, Mantle of Discord, and Item to Me line just now finishing off for Whalrus. And this is going to be one tanky baby.
So AMC and Zeus in this game. First time for both of them so far today.
And Zhong.
And Zhong as well. But the key is, did Memory of Gabe, to get to this point...
And Hui.
To get to this point, totally, did they have to invest some of their strategies they wanted to hold for later on in this tournament?
I don't necessarily think so, because every single game is do or die. Honestly, Memory of Gabe probably didn't even expect Oxygen to get this far. They probably thought it's going to be Team Allegiance or maybe even Noble at that point. They didn't expect probably Oxygen or Flashpoint to make it this far, but the fact of the matter was there's still great contention from Oxygen. They got this far, a 7-game winning streak. They gave a run for Memory of Gabe's money.
But they're going to be too late getting back to base here, I think, because only DayToRemeber's here right-hand side. You can see the recall coming out from Skeeledon as quick as he can, fast as his legs can carry him, and the bunnies too, just to get to this Phoenix to defend. They're trying to backdoor it, though, the Memory of Gabe there. They got the ultimate out of DayToRemeber one more time, and there goes Skeely.
Not able to find too much damage here. Cynosure is going to go into the sky, diving the back line onto the Chang'e, forcing out the Aegis.
In goes Venenu with the ghost on the backside now, looking to get as much damage off as he can. Immediately, Memory of Gabe turn tail and flee, just trying to stay alive for a moment, and they will do so. Sustain is the name of the game right now, but Oxygen do not want them to be able to get the wisps and re-sustain back up.
But look at this, look at the Titan room. The Titan's being taken down a little little bit here, and a lot of trouble. Is Whalrus stuck in a bad spot, but taking out NeiruMah, no problem. Everyone really low from Oxygen. Memory of Gabe, they want to be able to close this one out.
And Hurriwind will get a double kill. Kiki on the left-hand side will fall. Cynosure will fall. Memory of Gabe will finally do it. They've taken down Oxygen. They have put them on life support and finally pulled the plug. Oxygen did so well to get to this point, Tolly, but their dream has collapsed.
And they didn't go down without a fight. Memory of Gabe winning that third game, the first set to have the third game in a row thus far. And with this win here, we're going to see Memory of Gabe in the next set against Soar Gaming.
But Memory of Gabe will probably not be happy or expecting to have to have done as much as they did today so far. They probably expected a quick 2-0 here, but having seen the performances out of Oxygen today, you've got to look at them and go, geez, these guys are real shoo-ins for the relegations now. The bottom teams, the bottom two, Noble and Flashpoint, they're going to be really running scared of them.
Oh, absolutely. There's no denying just how well of a performance that this team put up today.
Sure, fantastic work from Oxygen, but it wasn't good enough to beat Memory of Gabe. Gabe will march on to face Soar. The winner of that goes to face United on Sunday.
Oof, that's going to be quite an exciting match. Sunday finals, NA versus EU, the wildcard best-of-1 action.
But that's all over the course of the weekend. We've still got plenty more to bring you today. First of all, let's head over to the analyst desk with Chaos, Tom, and Taco to break down that Game 3.
What an incredible set that we saw so far. Chaos waving the friends at home, I guess. What an incredible day that we saw for In Memory of Gabe. Unfortunately, all of their hard work and hard efforts, we started at 11. We're 7 minutes in. See ya. It's all about the other two teams now. All of that, I won't say for nothing. I think they've impressed a lot of people. I think they obviously have a great story to tell. But more importantly, come relegation, I think that they're going to make some waves. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I mean, I stated it earlier today, whether or not they managed to progress onwards to the final boss, I still think that this was a really important stepping stone for this team to take, and I really just hope that they continue to develop and progress as a whole team.
I'm with you on that. That was a pleasure, just honestly a pleasure to watch that team really do as much as they did, and I don't root for people here on the desk. You're laughing because I was rooting for them there in Game 3. I got audibly mad when they didn't kill Snoopy. I thought they might have been able to come back and grab it, but unfortunately for them and their fans, but fortunately for In Memory of Gabe and their fans, it went the different direction. Snoopy on the Muzen Cobb. This character is laughed at by most of the Smite scene, but coming through hot. Why is AMC so strong?
I think the thing is they weren't able to capitalize on him early. Unfortunately, Zhong ended up dying in these fights early to Zeus, so he wasn't able to get ahead. He kept trading equal, and unfortunately, IMOG was so far ahead at that point that No, sorry.
Oh, no, you can go ahead.
That every time that Zhong ended up going on AMC, AMC just actually shredded through him and was able to kill him before Zhong could kill him. So there was never that fair trade. Even though AMC was immobile, Zhong wasn't able to take advantage of that.
And I think more so than anything, I think that Gabe just managed to finally find Oxygen's kryptonite, and that was shutting down DayToRemeber consistently in all 3 games. We didn't get to see the same kind of performance out of DayToRemeber, and whether it was fatigue or whatever you want to call it, either way, Snoopy had the shutdown onto this man's and was not letting him do anything.
A big point that I'm going to steal for myself that Chaos mentioned off the air was the fact that the jungle choice was Chang'e. By having a jungler like that instead of the traditional jungler, Snoopy on the Muzen Cobb is a little bit safer. You're not going to get surprise blinked on or anything out of the jungle, and so having that in mind, Snoopy's able to hang out in that long lane, farm up, and then make plays like this happen.
I mean, there was a point in the game where he was immediately, like at this stage in the game, Snoopy was 14 going on to 15 when Day was barely hanging on to level 11. It's just the entire game, he had at least a 3-level disparity disparity between the two hunters. And when you consider such a strong 1v1 hunter like AMC facing off against somebody who struggles a little bit more in the earlier game like Huyi, that was just overall absolutely devastating for Oxygen to try and bounce back from.
Yeah, the Huyi was an interesting choice. I have seen DayToRemeber play it well, but I think that part of it does come down to fatigue. DayToRemeber was such an integral part of a lot of what we saw out of him and his team today. And then in that game number 3, just late or absent all those team fights, unfortunately.
He just didn't seem like he was showing up early enough to the fights, and when he did, it didn't seem like it was as impactful as it could have been.
So whatever the reason it may be, we see the challengers finally fall down. They traveled, they climbed, and they almost made it to the end, but almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Venenu standing by with Toli. Let's talk to the mid laner.
Thank you, Tom. I'm here with Venenu, the mid player from Oxygen Supremacy, going 7-2 today in the North American Gauntlet. Tell me, was stamina an issue for you and your squad in the last set?
Towards the end, yeah, we really were getting burnt out. We tried our best to keep everything going. At the first game that we lost to IMOG, once we hit that wall, it was really hard to come back from, because we were ahead, and then we ended up like losing a little more than we just couldn't get back.
At what point did you guys know you were going the distance? Was it even before you showed up this weekend?
Yeah, we actually we were just scrimming all the time. At anybody we could get, we scrimmed pretty much all week with United. We were really happy to get those scrims, and they helped us a lot in learning everything.
Tell me about like some of these scrims, not revealing any of their strategies, obviously, but how has it helped you and your team grow?
Like just stamina. Like we played a lot, like as much as we could every single day, because we knew we were going to go far in this. Like we were very, very confident going into this. And we just played so much, and like just played everything we could, and just learned and learned and learned, and then we came here and did really well.
I gotta say, looking at your team compositions here between, you know, your burst mages, your hunters in the mid, and then going into the Zhong at the end of the day, tell me about the mindset picking in and locking that Zhong.
We've practiced that a lot, and it worked almost every single time. Just sadly, the AMC got out of control, and I got one shot every time.
So tell me now, how is the communication, would you say, between like earlier on today? Like you guys seemed so comfortable every single set up until, like you mentioned, that last game or the first game rather that you lost.
It was good. We came into it, we were really like having the practice rooms and everything. It really helped us like go. And like got the land jitters off and everything. In the first game especially, like we just got everything off. Going in, we just kept going. Comms were great. NeiruMah, a really, really good person. Like keeping everything good. Kiki especially, keeping the mood very good and everything like that.
Yeah, so you guys have been to LAN before, with the exception of NeiruMah. You know, you were formerly in Team Allegiance, and then obviously Kiki and Skeeledon and Team Envious. DayToRemeber's been to a few LANs before in his AVGL days. So how has that been in terms of you guys supporting NeiruMah in his first LAN?
NeiruMah, he's been around the circuit for a while. He's been playing Challenger Cup for a long time with Panda Cat. Actually, he was one of them, and he's been used to it and gotten more. And especially here, he just got more, like, especially being like with the team, like knowing who you're with, it, like really strengthened how he was playing. And he also plays on high ping, so it kind of helped him here.
So tell me now, what's the future for you and your team moving forward? How confident are you guys going into the relegations?
Very, very confident. We're very proud on how we played today. We wish we could have gone further, but we played very, very well, and I hope we made everybody proud.
It seems that you guys are extremely flexible here during Picks Advance, and you guys have just been so dominant every single game. Even against Memory of Gabe, the games that you guys won, you guys gave them a run for their money. So is there any other final shout-outs you want to give before we throw it back to the analysts?
Shout-outs to Oxygen Supremacy, our sponsor, and shout-outs to Control Freak.
Well, we're going to be throwing it to the analyst here momentarily here, though. Great performance by you guys. Oxygen Supremacy going 7-2 today in the North American Gauntlet, but we're going to have a final set here. It's going to be Memory of Gabe against Soar Gaming. We're going to throw it to the analyst. Tom, take it away.